All right, we are back for another happy hour analytics. Um, yeah. Hey, Scott.
Hey Keith, how are you?
Doing okay. Doing okay.
It's been a good rainy day here
Hey,
today.
we got sun. Like it's end of September and it's still sunny in Portland. That's the magic right there. What you got today, Scott? What you drinking?
I am drinking a Basil Hayden dark rye, aged dark rye, and it is mighty tasty.
I'm jealous. You're putting me to shame a little bit. I am drinking a local Crux brewery down in Bend, Oregon, and they do a Japanese rice lager that I really like called Bochi Bochi.
Ooh,
So I'm doing something
that's
light
probably
today.
very good.
It's really
Yeah.
good. It's a light beer that still has that kind of flavor to it, so it doesn't taste like a light beer. It still has some kick, but it's not as heavy or hoppy as an IPA. So I enjoy it quite a bit.
Well, you know me, I'm almost always whiskey, so it's either going to be whiskey or wine on my end of the camera.
we All right, so today we are talking about Black Friday strategy. As I mentioned, it is end of September, which means it's almost time for people to start getting ready for Black Friday because otherwise, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm just going to put out a sale and then I'm going to do great," and don't work like that. So we're going to break this down. We're going to kind of talk about three levels of doing Black Friday promotions. We call it beginner, intermediate, advanced, but really it is how much effort you're willing to put in for how much return. So the beginner is kind of like simple strategies, things that you can do quickly that will give results. Intermediate will give you better results, but take more time. Same with advanced. So we're just going to go through, level up one at a time, and dive on in.
Great.
All right.
Kick us off and let's talk about it.
Let's do it. All right. Beginner level Black Friday strategy. What does this look like? I think the first thing you want to do whenever you're looking at a Black Friday strategy is to look at the products and the coupons and the offers. And this sounds obvious, but what are you going to sell? Right. And there are a number of reasons that you would pick what you want to sell. Either you think it's a great product and you can give it away cheaply, or especially if you're in physical products, if you have a lot of products in your warehouse and you need to get rid of them, that's a great thing to do for your
Mm,
for your Black
interesting.
Friday
Yeah,
sale.
sure.
There's a rumor that that's what Prime Day is. It's all the stuff they haven't been able to sell for from the previous year. They just put it on. They just put it on discount to get it out of the warehouses.
So do you think that the products that people offer, do you think a lot of thought has to go into it, or does just a little thought have to go into it? I mean, is any product a Black Friday candidate? I mean, if I've got a $10,000 coaching program, is that a Black Friday candidate,
Yeah,
or are you looking at not doing things quite that large or that encompassing?
I think it really depends on your purpose for Black Friday because there's kind of three. There's one, getting rid of old product that you don't need anymore if you're in physical products.
Mhm.
I think there is bringing in new people to your ecosystem. And then there
Sure.
is converting existing people to your ecosystem. And so one of those three, or maybe all of them, you really shouldn't diversify, but like one of those is going to be your core goal for Black Friday. And I think really focusing on one of those, and then your strategy changes a lot, right? If it's what is your product, if you're trying to get rid of stuff in your warehouse, it's the stuff you have a bunch of in your warehouse. What is the strategy for existing users? It's probably a higher price product, like you're talking about, a 5K, 10K
Mhm.
product, because it's something that you're rewarding the people already on your list. And if you're trying to get new people in, then it's definitely going to be that lower price product.
Kind of tripwire that doesn't involve a heavy sales process, right?
Exactly.
Because part of the product, I mean, my experience with Black Friday sales is part of the product trajectory is you want to close that deal in a day or two or three.
Right.
So if there's a heavy sales process involved, like sorry, I zoomed my camera somehow. Um, if there's a heavy sales process involved somehow, where you've got to get on say you have to get
Not
on a
going to work.
sales
Yeah.
call, you have to do a thing, it's probably not going to work then. Yeah.
Yeah. I think if
Okay.
you're trying to sell to existing, yes, maybe. but everyone's going to be so busy anyways. Like no one wants to get on a sale call the Friday after Thanksgiving. And that's another thing that people have to keep in mind is that where are people? They're not at work. They're not doing their standard work
Oh,
shopping. They're going to be at
sure.
home. They're going to be on their phone. And we get into this a little bit more, I think, in the intermediate and advanced, but I think you pick a product that is an easy sell, like you're saying, something that is a no brainer because A, you need to stand out. And then B, you need to be a no brainer in order to make that purchase.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point I hadn't thought about, right? People are going to be not at the office, right? When you launch this Black Friday sale for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
right? You might do it a couple of days before Thanksgiving, but generally you're going to be putting a timer on it that's going to be over a weekend. They might be on their phone, so your offer needs to be very simple to execute. It's not going to involve lots of forms and lots of filling out applications and things like that, because you'll just tank your conversions
Yeah.
if you did it that way.
And I think the easiest way, I mean, looking at, let's say that we just want to choose our lowest priced, most effective product of all the products we have. And the easiest way to do that, if you don't already know what that product is to go through and see how many people are tagged with having been offered that product. Or if you're not doing that type of sales, if you're how many people have visited the sales page for that product or the checkout page for that product, and how many people have purchased, right? And that gives you a conversion rate. And then check that against the lead value of that. And this is something you can do simply in SegMetrics, but this will show you not only what is your cheapest product, but it will also show you what is your most expensive product that still has a relative conversion rate that you can use there. Because you really do want to get
Well,
the most expensive thing that you can still convert new traffic off of.
and I think you made a really good point about lifetime value, right? That lifetime customer value over time. Again, shamelessly plugging the fact that it's really easy to find in SegMetrics. Um, but you could find that you sell a very, very inexpensive tripwire offer product, and people come in on that tripwire over the course of a year or 2 years or something like that, actually give you much, much more money than say a mid tier product
Yeah.
or even a more expensive product, right? You might get a lot of bang up front, but that tripwire that brings them into your orbit, brings them into that ecosystem. They end up buying incrementally over time, much, much more. And that's the kind of thing that I think you're exactly right. You got to, when you're picking this product, whatever it's going to be for Black Friday or a suite of products, even, you need to figure out, what you want to do
Yeah.
there.
And we spend a lot of time on picking the product. I think that is the most important part is having a good offer.
I do too.
Like I'm glad that we spent that extra time on it. But what are some other things that we need to look at when we're at that kind of basic level of one of them is verifying your ads. Like you're going to run ads. Like that's just a given at this point. It's going to suck because ads during Black Friday suck, but they're usually, we just did a calculation on this. I think it's like 2 to 3 times as expensive as your
Yeah, and
ads.
placements are harder,
Placements are harder,
and just eyeballs on the ad, the attention span of the people looking because they have got a lot of other things in mind are also tough.
but your
It's
ROI,
really important. Yeah, I mean, it's really important in my opinion that the ads, whatever you present, has got to match your message and it's got to convey the value like instantly,
exactly.
right? It can't just be a get 10% off SegMetrics. It's got to be SegMetrics is fantastic. Get
Right.
10% off, right?
And
You really have to sell the value quickly to get them to make that initial click at all.
yeah. And this goes into what we'll talk about the next level where you have to stand out. Everyone has that 10% off, 20% off, 30%, 50%, 80% off. It doesn't matter. You could give it at 100% off and you would not stand out among the rest. You have to find your hook to stand out among everyone else who's doing every other type of sale imaginable right now. And that ties into, in addition to making sure your ads work, you should try to find other places to market and other places to position your product, right? Because ads, like we're talking about, are not going to bring in, they're not going to be as effective, I think, or they're going to cost more, I guess is the better way. They're going to be super
Mm-hmm.
effective, but they're going to cost more. And so anything you can do to kind of circumvent that and get sales from, there's lots of Black Friday link groups. There's especially for
Oh, good idea.
niches. right? Like if you're selling video games, there are video game Black Friday sites. If you're selling cosmetics, there are cosmetic, like anything that you are selling. We got in one for books because we have the 90-minute guide that's an actual paperback book, and there is a paperback book, business book, Black Friday link group, and we got in
Mm-hmm.
there and we did bango sales from that. Not even something we focused on, but those one or two groups that we joined got us a lot of sales, even though we had no other promotions from it.
I think that's a great idea, and I hadn't even thought of that. Like different places that you could potentially, because I focus on that acquisition top of funnel stuff a lot. So I think Facebook, Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, right? I think get out on those sites really quick. But I think you're exactly right. Around Black Friday, just like Prime Day, right? Prime Day is another great example. A lot of people curate Prime videos and Prime
Right.
TikToks. How do you find the best, right? How do you find, so you might consider even in your advertising strategy promoting a site that you're going to be on, that may be one of these list kinds of sites, to say, hey, go check out all of these deals, right?
Yeah.
And you might bolster a little bit that way as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the other really critical part that nobody thinks about in advance is you've got to prep your team, man.
Yes.
Right. I think maybe the effectiveness of Black Friday is diminishing a little bit over a few years ago, but nevertheless, you're going to drive more traffic, which is going to drive more sales, which is going to drive more support calls, more questions, more stuff. You've got to really make sure that your team, that you've got people online for Black Friday, that you've got your support team and your customer service team are really paying close attention to the cues, right? When everyone else is taking off and you're selling on Black Friday, you've got to be paying attention to
Yeah.
all that increased traffic.
Yeah, we did this back at the agency for a number of years, and we never had Thanksgiving or Black Friday off. Like
Never.
we were around, we
I
were making
remember.
sure the shopping cart doesn't go down, the web page doesn't go down, email deliverables, deliverability still okay. Like you have a lot of things, and that's on top of the standard just people asking questions. There's a lot going on that you have to be on top of there. We did
Well, you've
oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was going to say what you just said was also kind of important and almost additional to what I said. I said our team should be ready and available, but that means that if you're using an agency or a development team or a developer, you need those people to also be on
Oh,
call,
yes.
ready to go, right? So you need to extend beyond your business into your support system for those things that you just talked about. What if the cart goes down,
We
right?
I don't know if
Yeah.
you remember, we had stopped working with the client as we were kind of stopping all of the agency stuff to focus on SegMetrics. And we got a call and from one of our old clients, they said, "Hey, we really need your help. It's Black Friday and our developer took off.
I
Like he just
remember. I
had a
remember.
vacation because it was Thanksgiving and he was like, "You know what?
Thanksgiving.
I'm going to go be with my family." And it's like, "That's great, but
Nobody thought about it,
nobody thought
right?
about it,
So
right?" Like,
yeah, so make sure you extend that on call, even if that costs you a little more in
oh,
your
it's worth it.
contractor world,
I
right?
mean,
It's totally worth it.
what's the cost of the website going down and you losing 6 hours of sales? Like,
That's exactly right.
yeah. We did a analysis of the 2023 Black Friday, and we found that for during the Black Friday, that 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we had the average person had 4 times as much traffic, 4 times as many purchases, and 4 times as much revenue as any time as the average for the rest of the year. So,
Wow.
and that's average. So that's something to expect and say, how busy are you on a regular day? If you do this right, at least 4 times as busy is the answer.
Wow. That's actually that's a sizable increase. That's more than I would have expected for last
It
year.
was higher than
Because
I thought
I've
too.
kind of been, yeah, I've kind of been preaching that I think Black Friday is starting to lose its potency because of things like Prime Day, et cetera, right? But maybe not, right? Maybe that's more retail.
Yeah.
Do you think in the product selection that I asked the question about price point, right? You're more expensive versus not, or more complicated versus not. Are there industries that work better than not? Is e-commerce going to do a better job than SaaS? Going to do a better job than coaching?
More
Going to
than
do,
SaaS, yeah. I think
yeah.
SaaS and coaching, and sales driven stuff. I mean, anything that is B2B is probably not going to do
Mhm.
great. Just because no one's in business mode at that point. I think productized, um, I won't say services like info products and courses, I think do
Mhm.
great. And of
Okay.
course, I think ecom, like standard physical ecom, does great.
Sure.
Video
Sure.
games, anything that is product based, I think does great. But I think a lot of things you were talking about, masterclass.com, I think it was,
Yeah.
they had a
Yeah.
great,
That I bought on a Black Friday sale.
yeah.
Yeah. It was a buy one, get one. I split the cost with a buddy of mine, and I have been a subscriber ever since. It's been about 5 years.
And this
So,
this is interesting because we in that same analysis, that 2023 analysis, we saw that subscriptions were not really high on the things being sold during Black Friday. It was much more single purchase products and stuff like that. But
mm,
and I think it is harder to sell a subscription unless you have a really good hook. And I think we should probably go into that next one of strategy. So doodaloo
sure.
doodaloo doodaloo, we go to the we go to the intermediate level, and we talk about bundling and
Hmm.
more product strategy, right? So we talked about like choosing a product, but what about how products interplay with each other? So like I said, so someone's not going to necessarily sign up for a subscription course or a subscription product on Black Friday because yeah, I have a great deal this month, but I know next month is not going to be a great deal, or 3 months down, or whatever that is. So what are things that we can do to increase that lifetime value of the product
Hmm.
without in something that is like Black Friday, where people are not really gonna, they don't want to get into a commitment on Black Friday, right?
Well, in the masterclass example, though, to push back just a little, in the masterclass example, that was an annual, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a good deal on annual. So, and so it was just a little below what their standard annual pricing was,
Mm-hmm.
and then it was a buy one get one, right? So what I could do then is use that lever to actually get it for half price for me annual. Now I have continued to then pay the annual fee, not a ton of money though, right? It's sub $200 product, but you even though it's a subscription, it enticed me because it brought the price down to a point that I wasn't afraid to commit to it for at least 1 year,
Right. And
right?
I think, and here's a question, because I love the buy one get one, which for people who not quite clear on what that is, that's so you bought it and then you were able to gift it to a friend. Um,
Correct. That's exactly the way
yeah,
that worked. Yep.
and that's interesting because I think if they had just done, hey, it's 50% off, would that have the same impact to you as something that's buy one get one?
No, probably. Well, maybe it might have. It might have kept me. It might have gotten me there, right? Because I was already pseudo interested in
Mm-hmm.
masterclass. Um, it, it it might have, but I would have paid closer attention to the expiration, the
Right.
right, because I want to know when that 50% is going to come back to bite me, right? And then I've got to factor that in. The fact that I committed to 1 year, I knew what I was going to get next year.
Mm-hmm.
So in November, I know how much I'm going to pay again, right? I already get that. So there, I think there's less cognitive, like I've got to figure out now what that's going to change to be next year, right? And I got to remember that somehow. So I think the buy one get one has a good way of doing that without making me think about it too hard.
Yeah. I think there's also, because, Christmas gifts are the big thing that people purchase during Black Friday.
Black Friday. Yep.
Um, that's one of the things that I think a lot of brands have kind of leaned into, which is, okay, you can get this and then get something for yourself, but also get something for someone else. So you look like the hero, you got your gift giving, but hey, you also got something for you as well.
Precisely the way I played it too. I gave that away as a Christmas gift. 100%.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So you're 100. I think you're exactly right. There is a little bit of that happens. That is the motivation for Black Friday is to buy Christmas gifts.
Yeah.
So yeah, interesting.
So what are some how are some other ways that we can bundle products together? You talked about a tripwire offer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what are some other ways that we can kind of put products together into something that is more than the sum of its parts, I guess?
Sure. Well, I think in our agency days, right, we saw this a lot where, let's say I've got 5 or 6 low dollar products, and I say low dollar, but low to mid dollar
Yeah.
products, and I
Fifty,
create
100, 200
a
bucks.
Black
Yeah.
Friday, right? I create a product suite, right? A Black Friday suite. Get these 10 products to if you commit to this Black Friday sale, get these 10 products. Individual, they are worth $3,000. You're going to get them for 800,
Yeah.
right? That kind of thing, right? So I think you can really lean into, especially if you've got more than one thing to offer, bundling or coupling, or again, I think the buy one get one is another way to bundle, right? Even if you've got fewer products. If you're in the e-com space, you might consider the same kind of thing, right? You might consider bonus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Pick from this list of bonus things. So if I'm gonna buy makeup, which I know nothing about, so I'll screw all of this up. But if I'm going to buy if I'm going to buy this blush, okay, here are 5 mascara pens that you can pick,
Right.
for $1 a piece or something like that, right? That you can then start to put together these. It feels like a much better deal.
Yeah.
And honestly is a better deal, right? So it's not that it's not. It's not. It just feels that way, but it is a way to entice people to take advantage.
Yeah. And that's something like you can see that on Amazon, and, with SegMetrics, we can do that as well, which is essentially what products bundle well together. What is,
Yep.
when someone buys product A, what are the other products that they tend to buy? Is it B, C, D, E, etc.? Create a bundle out of that. And what I think is super fun, because I'm always thinking about upsells and downsells and stuff like that. What can you do? By the way, during Black Friday, have an upsell. Just, it's free money.
Yeah.
Have an upsell. Do not have an upsell. Free money. If you take one thing away from this talk, free money, upsells. All right. Honestly, I don't.
You don't have to overcomplicate it.
Just
you don't
put
have to have 3 upsells and 4
upsells. No,
downsells.
post-purchase upsell. Something there they already bought. It's literally free money. Like, even if only one person gets it, that was one person who wasn't going to give you the extra $10, $20, $30, whatever. Do a post-purchase upsell. It's free money. Okay.
I love your passion about upsells. Do you have the same passion about order bumps on the order form?
Yes and no. Yes and no. And
okay, I'm with you.
The reason is I do like them. The reason I am not as bullish on them as upsells is because they add a point of friction to the purchase product or to the purchase process. Yep. And that's why I like post-purchase upsells so much, because they do not influence the purchase making decision at all.
Right.
And so it's literally free money. The order bumps, there is a cognitive thing that goes in it. I believe on whole, from what we have seen, they are better than not having it. But
worse than an upsell.
Worse than an upsell, yes. But going back to what I want to talk about upsells, because I'm a huge a-hole like this. I would look at your product orbit, right? So what products go well together, etc. Find the ones that work together, put 2 or 3, whatever in there, make that bundle, and then take the most popular one and take it out. And that's your upsell.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was thinking, do you upsell your more expensive product every time? But you're kind of recommending probably not, right? Take your most popular one and take it out, because you're going to capture them at a greater pace than you would a more expensive product potentially.
Yeah,
and that's actually a fantastic strategy. I don't remember us doing that in the agency.
I don't think we did that one. We did.
I don't think, but but that's smart.
The one that we did do that always blew my mind was that we were working with a client that had $100, $200 product, and they decided to do a $1,500 upsell. And I was like, there's no way. Right. There's just no way. Like, no one's going to take it. It
worked. I remember.
Yeah. I mean, the uptake was horrible, right? It was like,
but who cares?
It was like 1% or 2%, but it's 2% for a $1,500 product. Like, that's a lot of money.
Right.
Like, I think it turned out to be something like $60,000, maybe almost $100,000. Right. And it's like, yeah, the uptake was horrible, but you don't need much at $1,500, right? Like,
See, I actually remember that really well because you were in Japan when that happened, right? And I was paying attention to sales, and I pinged you which would have been your nighttime, and said someone took the upsell. Like really? Like
What the hell are they thinking?
I can't believe that worked.
There was oh, what was the thing? There was oh, it's kind of like tiered pricing, right? So,
Mm,
with the tiered pricing model, you always have the low price, you have the medium price, which what you want everyone to buy, and then you have the highest price that's generally 10
mm.
times the other values, right? And you
Right,
don't
price anchor on both
price
sides.
anchor on both
Right.
sides. You don't expect anyone to buy that one, but without fail, about 5% of people buy that. And so you think 5% of your sales are going after that hugely expensive thing. And that's a lot of money. And
Mm,
I think Nathan Barry talked about this in his book when before he did ConvertKit, when he was talking about the info product sales and stuff. And he said, look, when we do the highest price thing, not many people take us up, but it's still like 50% of our revenue just because it's so expensive.
hmm
It ain't shabby. It ain't shabby.
Yeah, Frank Kern's got a lot of that kind of thinking in his stuff too, but he bounces all over the place, so it's hard to tell if that's a sustained strategy for him or not. Sometimes his products are $20,000, and sometimes his products are $200, and I'm
Yeah.
like, pick a lane, pal, pick a lane.
Yep. All right, let's wrap this thing up to the advanced. And we've actually talked
Sure.
about a lot of this. We talked about the cross promotions. We didn't talk about affiliate partnerships, which I think would be good to get into, but we did talk about those more complicated offers like the buy one get one free and the bundling and then the upsells and everything. And at the end of the day, it really is, I think, doing stuff that isn't easy for people to copy. Um, and that's people are watching, people are prepping for Black Friday well in now, right? Well before Black Friday, but they're
Yeah.
also watching while Black Friday is going on. And if they see something and they're like, oh man, whoever that is, they're doing a great job. And it's easy to copy, they're going to pivot on a dime, right? And we saw that a number of times. We've done that a number of times where we were in the middle of a client launch, we see someone else doing something good, and we're like, we should totally do that because that's
Steal it.
brilliant. Yeah.
Right.
And we pivot to that because it's easy to do. And so I think the most important thing, and we kind of hinted on this at the beginning, is to stand out, right? It's
Hmm.
to everyone's doing just a flat sale, right? Everyone's doing Black Friday sale, discount,
Hmm.
blah, blah, blah. What can you do to stand out? Whether that's affiliates or an interesting ad campaign or an interesting offer, like like that's what you need to figure out. Something that's not easy to
Well,
copy.
we've had, in terms of affiliates and cross promotions, we've had luck in the past with, and we can see it in SegMetrics client stuff too, is that if you've got someone who's working adjacent to you, but not directly in your lane, right? Partner up with
Oh
them.
yeah.
Offer their stuff with your stuff in a bundle. Hey, not only do you get my stuff, but you get their stuff too,
Yeah.
right? And now people are like, oh, now I don't have to think about buying two things. I can buy one thing if I was interested in both.
Yeah.
And then set up those affiliate partnerships to do mailings for you as well, especially if they aren't doing Black Friday offers, right?
Yes, definitely.
If people that are in your ecosystem that have large mailing lists, and we don't talk enough anymore about the power of email marketing, but if you've got a strong email marketing list, volunteer to email for other people's Black Friday sales and have them email for your Black Friday sales. Start to get people, and this
Yeah.
goes back to the search for alternative places to market. Get people who have large lists to mail on your behalf, and you do the same. And suddenly you'll find that you'll start to get some of that audience as well. Plus, you're going to get those leads no matter what, which means you can nurture them in time and go from there.
And
So
here, I mean, this is kind of I won't say it's even a dirty little secret, but like people who have newsletters want content. The majority of
yeah,
people with newsletters do not have enough content from week to week. And we're talking about, B2B companies are not generally doing a Black Friday sale, but they have a lot of people on their list that are consumers, general consumers. They're not buying for their business, but they might be buying for themselves, right? And so if you have something that is adjacent to your product, and you have a
Mm-hmm.
partner, or someone who's adjacent to that product, that can be really good. And also, you were talking about people in the same genre that are not necessarily competitors. You see this in the video game industry all the time, where, especially in the indie video game industry, where people create bundles. It's like, okay, have your Metroidvania or your cartoon themed beat 'em up bundle. And so you get 4 of them for 10, 20% off or whatever. So they're all slightly cheaper, but you get a huge bundle of them. And people who like that genre, who like doing that thing, now have a lot of things. So they feel a lot more value because they've discovered more things that they're interested in.
That they didn't know about before they encountered him in your particular ad or your particular site or your particular offer. That's very
Exactly.
interesting.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then I think to kind of you brought up the do things that other people can't do. That's where you got to leverage your magic, right? If you've got a big team, do big things. If you've got a small team, do scrappy things. If you've got good creative resources in your ecosystem, do edgy creative stuff. Get those ads
Mhm.
that if we went up against our competition, right? We know what they do better than us. We know what, right, from an advertising perspective or from a brand positioning perspective. So don't go at them at that level. Go at them at another level, right? Go at them with something that they can't do, right?
Yeah.
What do we do better than they do on any level, whether it's the product, the offer, the pricing, the advertising, the creative, the copy, whatever it is. Find us something, a hook that is going to make you pop out against your competitors, and make them chase you.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's kind of, I think Black Friday has kind of become like April Fool's Day. Remember back in the day when April Fool's was all, especially on the internet, was all about like, oh, who has the craziest thing? And then it just got very flat and like, oh, they announced a product that's never going to come out, like ha 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 kind of thing, right? But they used to be really
Right.
creative. And sometimes you still get them. But Black Friday, I think, has the opportunity for that. We were looking at Cards Against Humanity's Black Friday sales that they've
Right.
done the last few years, and they've done really fun stuff. Like they bought an island. They what did they do?
Right.
They dug the biggest hole, I believe. Like for every $10, they would dig another
They
inch or
dug.
something like that. And then they had, what was it? The anti Black Friday sale. I'm trying to remember that one where, oh, I can't remember off the top of my head. No, it's the Bochi Bochi stuff.
But so it's interesting because the stats about that are really fascinating to me because they actually sold fewer card decks
Right.
over Black Friday, but they grew their list exponentially. So if they were to go back in time now and go, okay, how many people came in as a result of that effort? How much have we made from them since?
Yeah.
Right. So if you're just, and I think this is an important thing about tracking, and again, SegMetrics can really help with this, is don't necessarily pay attention to just what happens on Black Friday and over that initial weekend through Cyber Monday, right? Pay attention to what that activity brings you over the course of a week, a month, 2 months, 6 months, whatever that is. And in a lot of cases, a lot of platforms can't do that we do really, really
Yeah.
well. Right. So Cards Against Humanity, I'm glad you brought that up because they sold fewer card decks. Right after that sale, they came out thinking it was a failure. And in the end, it wasn't a failure at all. It was a massive success. It was just a massive success in a time frame. You got to pay attention to that
That
velocity of
6 month
sale,
block. Yeah.
right? 6 months out, they had made way more money than they had made the year before.
Yeah.
So really pay close attention to
And
that.
here we are talking about it 2, 3, 4 years later.
2, 3
Right.
years later, exactly.
Exactly.
Now I got to look this year. I got to pay closer attention to it this year to see if they do something crazy again because annually they typically do something pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm excited about that. All right. Well, I think we got a strategy pretty well covered.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
And I'm almost out of
Yeah.
a drink, so I think we got to pivot to the next one.
Well, let's stop it here, and then we're gonna talk about Black Friday analytics on the next video. So we'll do that then.
Cool.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye.